It's Doug from Behind Closed Doors, and today I'm looking at a video called Woman Accusing a Man of Mansplaining Gets as Good as She Gives. Let's have a look at it.
I love the mansplaining. I'm enjoying it.
Alright, okay, so we're like, how many seconds are we in? We're 3 seconds in, and already I can see that she's got this arrogant, condescending, snarky attitude. Can you see it in her face? And it's very presumptuous. I love the mansplaining. So already, is mansplaining a thing? Has it occurred? We don't need to have that conversation because she's already established that it has and does. So she's already set the frame of the interaction here. So I haven't seen before this, by the way, so that I've just gone on this clip. I don't know what the actual conversation's about. This is the Senate Community Affairs Legislation Committee in Australia, Australian Senate by the looks of it. Okay, so I've got a little bit of context here, but I don't really know about what they were talking about previously. But this is just what she said here now has just derailed the conversation. So probably he was making a point that made sense and he was explaining it. And because she disagrees with it, oh, you're mansplaining. It's just a diversion. It's just an excuse. Actually, I should do it that way because this is a really condescending, bad, dark, evil place that this goes to. So she's already set the frame of the interaction. We're no longer talking about what we were talking about. And we're now talking about mansplaining. And it exists and you're doing it. And that's the end of the conversation. So she's already set the frame of the interaction.
It.
You're loving what?
The mansplaining that's going on.
What
or just talking me through how
See, this is where she's got to explain mansplaining. Now, is she mansplaining by doing this? Is she talking down and being condescending to me by explaining something? Because if somebody knows something that you don't, then they have a position of knowledge that you don't, so they're explaining it to you. Explaining something implies kind of like a teacher and a student. So this is like a hierarchical position, yeah? Because somebody knows something and somebody doesn't. So they kind of explain it to bring them up to that level. Even if they're both aware of something, you can just reiterate things just so that people are up to date and know which page and which hymn sheet you're singing from. So there's nothing wrong with explaining things. Conversation is how we get things done. That's what, people do in these situations. They sit in a room and explain things to each other. This is what I think, this is what I feel, this is what's been said, this is what we believe is the way forward, da-da-da-da-da. You have to have a conversation. The moment that you say, well, you're mansplaining, therefore that just eradicates the conversation, it just derails everything. So let's have a look at mansplaining according to this Kathy.
By not answering the question, by repeating processes which are not related to the question that I've asked.
So if you ask a question and somebody doesn't understand the question and talks about something different, or does understand the question but is avoiding it, that's now gendered, is it? That's now a man thing. Because women don't avoid answering questions. Because women won't talk around a topic. Why is it predominantly a man thing?
That I've asked.
What's mansplaining, Senator?
Well, it's the slightly patronising and condescending way that you're responding to my question.
It's slightly the patronising and condescending way you're talking to... She's doing it. Do you understand? She is the sexist in the room. She's the hypocrite. She's the one that is doing what she's accusing him of doing. She's explaining and talking down in a condescending tone to him. My questions. Do you see how she's loving this? This is no longer about whatever they were talking about. Look at her fucking face. She's disgusting. She shouldn't be in this position of power. She's just going to abuse it. And she's going to abuse it using sex. So let's see what Mitch has got to say about this. But he won't win because he is mansplaining.
Well, I would suggest, Senator, that if you're putting the word man in front of some description of what I'm doing, you're doing that which I'm sure you're very much against, is making a sexist implication about how I'm conducting my role as a man.
Then, you see, look, he can't even, she has to interrupt him. Is that a masculine thing to do? Because she's trying to, then you should do this and that and the other. The whole thing is trying to get you to act and behave how they want you to act and behave so that they're in control of you. They want to put a leash around your neck and you do as you're told. All the family court is running this way. All the secret family courts are run by feminists. Feminists in power have control over children, and that's why there's so much child abuse that goes on in family courts. I don't want to go off topic, but that's the nature of the beast. If you have a feminist, and that can be a man or a woman, and you put them in power, and they use sex as a way of discriminating against people, they should be taken out of that situation of power. They shouldn't be allowed to have a position of authority.
Well, then the easiest way to do it...
Is that what you're saying, Senator?
Well, what I'm saying is that the way...
So she's interrupting him, and now she's telling him how he should act and behave, because he doesn't instinctually know how he should supposed to act and behave as a responsible adult. So the whole thing, it's a whole Marxist movement. It's like, I'm oppressed, therefore you're the oppressor, therefore you should do as I say because I'm a victim. It's all rubbish. You see, you don't have to use sex. You could also use race. You could say, oh, you're white-splaining. But she can't say that because she's white as well. So it would look ridiculous. But it's just as ridiculous to say that he's mansplaining. This whole idea of judging people and then putting a race or sex filter over the top of it, the prejudice is inside of her. He hasn't brought up sex. He's responding to the fact that it's been brought up.
The easiest way to do it...
Is that what you're saying, Senator?
Well, what I'm saying is that the way you've been responding to me has been patronising and condescending, and...
Well, just because somebody's patronising and condescending, why is that primarily a male thing? This is the sexism that I'm talking about. What, women aren't patronising and condescending to one another? You've
been responding to me has been patronising and condescending, and I have responded to that.
Oh, thank you for explaining that to me. Now, is she mansplaining when she's speaking in a condescending way, pointing out the obvious and crosses her arms? Is she mansplaining, or is she womansplaining as a man? This sexist language is disgusting.
The easiest way to deal with this is not to...
Now, you see, when she interrupted him, which is what she did first, he stopped talking so that she could speak. She's not going to stop talking because she's so narcissistic. And this is, I mean, there are so many, I don't like the term narcissistic because it's thrown around so much, but it's essentially what it is. They're so self-indulgent. They only care about them and their feelings and their vision of the world and their sexism. They only care about how they see the world. They're not interested in the fact that people have different thoughts, feelings and opinions and there's other people in the world. They don't care. And this is the thing as well, is that this is where it's really difficult talking to a feminist, because as a rational human being, you present logic and it makes sense. So this is that and that's that. But in a feminist's mindset, logic and reason and guilt doesn't exist. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. Because they don't care about being right. So it doesn't matter if you prove them wrong, because they're still going to keep talking.
Imagine, Senator,
is not to have that way in responding to the questions I've asked.
Imagine the reaction, Senator, if I said you were womansplaining. You're saying that I'm mansplaining.
Well, it is a term that's used.
Is it by whom?
Well, yeah, it may be a term that's used, but again, we'll compare this to race as well. There's a lot of terms that are used with racists, and the M word is used, but you don't use it. And she could use that word in the position of power that she's in and say, oh, well, people use the word. So that means it's okay to use it. People say racist things, so why can't I say them? Like, people say sexist things, so why can't I say sexist things? That's her argument. Why can't I be a sexist if there are sexist words?
Well, it is a term that's used.
Is it by whom?
Well, it is a term that's used.
By sexists. And feminism is sexism.
Term that's used.
By rude...
Doesn't make
By rude senators. By senators who are seeking to make gender an issue.
No, I'm not.
Do you want to reconsider what you said, Senator?
No, I don't.
You don't want it?
No.
Of course she doesn't want to reconsider. She doesn't give a fuck. She doesn't care. She's in a position of power and she does not give a fuck about how she treats people. She doesn't care about her sexism. If she was racist, she wouldn't care about that either. She's so high up and condescending. And the reason why I'm getting irate about it is because I don't like bullies. It's immoral. It's wrong what she's doing. She's a very sick individual and she needs to be removed because she's not capable of functioning in the position that she's in.
No.
You don't want it?
No.
I mean, I just find it extraordinary, Senator. I just find it extraordinary that you...
But she doesn't care what you think. Who cares what you think? It's her. It's all about her. Fucking dickheads.
Or any senator at this table would seek to invoke gender in impugning...
Yeah, Yeah, isn't there some sort of like, thing of conduct or something like that in order to have them removed from the position that they're in? Because this sexist shouldn't be in the position of power.
How a senator is responding.
Well, I'm surprised
Mansplaining.
you haven't.
Let the
you
record
don't
show.
understand.
Let the record.
And look, and I'm surprised. Like, she's not even listening. She's just switched off. She doesn't care. She doesn't give a fuck. She's not listening to what he's saying.
Would show, Chair, that Senator Gallagher thinks it's appropriate to refer to a senator as mansplaining. Take a good look.
Now, when you point out the sexism, you notice how he's like crossed his arms to sort of like lean on the desk and sort of like, look, this is ridiculous. Basically, the way that she's behaving is like a child. In her mind, that reinforces the mansplaining because they can't be wrong.
Take a good look at yourself. I mean, sitting here and saying to a
male
male senator, you're
Minister.
mansplaining. If I said to a female senator, you are womansplaining, there would be uproar. Stop being a hypocrite.
Yeah, and also, why would you want to do that? I wouldn't want to say womansplaining. I'd just use the words that have been delegated. I'd say, look, I can see that you're explaining it, but you're just coming across as very rude and condescending. I wouldn't say you're womansplaining.
Stop being a hypocrite.
Well,
Conduct yourself appropriately for this.
She doubts it. Who gives a fuck what she thinks?
Place.
I'm sorry you're so offended by the use of the word. It is a word that's used.
She's not sorry. That's not a genuine apology. She's not sorry in any sense of the word. She's happy about it. You see how she's still not. She's got the frame, and he's playing within the frame, and the frame shouldn't be there in the first place because now they've spent all this time. Instead of talking about what they were meant to be talking about, which was relevant to the conversation, and now she's derailed it, and now they're talking about something completely different so that she can support the argument.
It is a word that's used. I'm surprised that you're so shocked by the use of the word.
No.
Well, yeah, just surprised the fact that you used it. Again, it's like using the M word. If she did that, it would be surprising. Oh, I'm sorry that you're offended at the fact that I used the N word. It's like sexism and racism, it's the same thing. One's just a filter of sex, the other's just a filter of race.
No, I'm just calling hypocrisy. Hypocrisy, thy name is Labor. Thy name is Senator Gallagher.
But she doesn't care, because she hasn't got any pride in her name.
Well, I think you need to settle down, actually.
Senator, welcome to federal parliament.
Oh, right.
Welcome to
Minister order.
It's where the big people
Minister
play.
order.
Well, big people in the sense that they're above being sexist, yeah. So that was the video, woman accusing a man of mansplaining gets as good as she gives. He shouldn't give as good as he gets. They should just remove her from the position of power that she's in and completely ignore her because she's a sexist.